So when Lucid's 2025 numbers dropped, a lot of the headlines, they just jumped straight to the net loss. But if you're a shareholder, the real story, the one that actually matters for the long term, isn't just that bottom line number. It's about what's happening under the hood, the operational engine of the business. So today, we're going to dig into the strategic story behind Lucid's 2025 results and see what it really tells us about the road ahead. Okay, before we get into all the details, just a quick and very important reminder. This analysis is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. We always encourage you to do your own research before making any kind of investment decision. All right, so here's what we've got on the agenda. We're going to look at their strategic execution this past year, check out their record-breaking production and delivery numbers, and then we'll dig into how they're driving down costs. After that, we'll see how they're gaining market share, what their guidance for the future looks like, and finally, get a peek at their new Midsize program. Let's get into it. First up, a year of strategic execution. In a market that's been facing a lot of headwinds and uncertainty, Lucid's leadership has been working to reframe the narrative, to get people to look past the short-term numbers and focus on the long-term, deliberate strategy. And really, the interim CEO, Mark Winterhoff, he summed it up perfectly. He said 2025 was all about execution and strategy adjustment to set Lucid up for long-term success. And that right there, that's the key. It means they were willing to weather some short-term storms to get the foundation right. This whole idea of methodical execution is the lens through which we need to view their entire year. So, how is that strategy actually translating into real-world results? Well, that brings us to our second section, record production and deliveries. This is really where the rubber meets the road, proving that there's real demand for their cars and that they're getting better and better at actually building them at scale. And here's the headline number for the year. Lucid delivered 15,841 vehicles. That is a seriously impressive figure, and it also marks their 8th consecutive quarter of record deliveries. That's a clear, consistent sign of momentum. But here's the part that really made me sit up and take notice. That number, it represents a massive 55% increase over 2024. That's not just a little bit of growth. That is some serious acceleration. It's a powerful demonstration of their strengthening operational muscle. And when you see it visually like this, that jump becomes even more dramatic, right? I mean, going from just over 10,000 vehicles in 2024 to almost 16,000 in 2025, that's a powerful statement about the progress they're making on the factory floor. This is what 55% growth actually looks like. Okay, but scaling up production is really only half the battle. This brings us to a super critical piece of the puzzle in Section 3, driving down unit costs. For any EV company, this is pretty much the make or break factor in building a business that's actually sustainable and, profitable. And listen to what the CFO, Taoufiq Boussaid, had to say. He pointed out that the progress they made was structural. Now, that is a key word for investors. It means these aren't just one-time fixes. They've made fundamental improvements to their processes, things like their supply chain and manufacturing workflow, which creates a much more stable and predictable path for costs. It's a foundational change. So why is this so important? Well, for shareholders, these structural cost improvements are what you call a leading indicator of future profitability. So even while the company might be reporting a net loss today, these gains in unit economics, which is basically how much they make or lose on each car, these are the building blocks for a much stronger financial future. It's a huge sign that they're on the right track. Okay, so we've established they're building great cars, and they're building them more efficiently. But are people actually buying them? That brings us to our fourth point, gaining market share. This is all about proving they can win over the right customers in what is a very competitive luxury EV space. And the answer is, yeah, they are. Throughout 2025, Lucid kept gaining market share in the US luxury EV segment. And that is a huge deal. Think about it. In a crowded field with heavy hitters like Tesla, Mercedes, and BMW, it shows that Lucid's brand and their product aren't just surviving, they're winning. They're not just moving metal, they're building a real following. And this market share growth, it's being fueled by some serious validation from the industry itself. I mean, it's one thing for a company to say their own products are great, but it's a whole different ballgame when the experts agree. Both the Lucid Gravity SUV and the Lucid Air sedan earned the super prestigious Car and Driver 10 Best Award, on top of a whole bunch of other top-tier accolades. This kind of expert stamp of approval, it builds trust and reinforces their luxury status, and that ultimately drives sales. So, we've seen some impressive execution and results from 2025. Now, let's turn our attention to the future. The company's guidance for 2026 gives us a really clear roadmap for what's coming next. And this is where the story gets really, really exciting. On the left, you see the nearly 16,000 vehicles they delivered in 2025. Now look at the right. Their official production guidance for 2026 is a range of 25,000 to 27,000 vehicles. That is not just a small step up, it's another massive leap forward. And it signals some major confidence in both their manufacturing abilities and the demand they're seeing for their cars. And that incredibly ambitious production target leads us perfectly into our final section for today, the Midsize program. This is the next major catalyst for Lucid, a really strategic move that could unlock a whole new level of growth for the company. And once again, the interim CEO lays out the vision pretty clearly. In 2026, the focus is going to expand to include producing their very first mid-sized vehicles. And did you catch that other part? The mention of robotaxis. That's a really fascinating glimpse into their long-term strategy, which goes beyond just selling cars to people and into the whole future of mobility services. So what's the big deal with this new program? Well, it's kind of threefold. First, it's going to open up a much larger, more accessible market for Lucid. Second, it's the key to driving massive future volume. And third, and this is the really smart part, they get to leverage all that award-winning technology they already developed for the Air and Gravity, which creates incredible economies of scale. So when you put it all together, you've got record deliveries, structural cost improvements, growing market share, and a clear roadmap for expansion. It really paints a compelling picture. You see a company that is methodically building a much, much stronger operational foundation. Which leaves us with the big question, right? Are we finally seeing Lucid turn the corner? So that's our deep dive into Lucid's 2025 operational story. It's a fascinating look at a company that's clearly in transition, and we are absolutely going to be watching to see what happens next. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more explainers like this.